Join me now to chew on this one. This is a wonderful story. Rich Lowry is editor-in-chief of National Review. Alec Lace is host of the First Class Fatherhood podcast. This guy, Nathan Wade, must be very insecure, Rich. I mean, 2,000 cell phone calls. I think this was 12,000 text messages. I mean, you know, I love love. I mean, I love my wife, my saintly wife. But if I ever hit her with 12,000 text messages.
Not that needy, huh, Larry?
Not that needy. I mean, and now they're trying to deny everything. And do the cell phone towers lie? That's the one way to ask.
So it looks as though they're desperate to say she hired him before there was any relationship, just because he's a good prosecutor and a good lawyer, and then this relationship, love happened, you know, in the office. But it looks as though, we'll need to learn more, but it looks as though the phone records really belie that. And the name of the game here, Larry, as with all these cases, is timing. You know, whether she stays on the case or not doesn't matter that much. It's whether it can be delayed. They want to do this thing in August, right? They want a presidential candidate for a major party to be sitting in a courtroom in Atlanta in August and September. Well, he might, you know, supposedly he's going to be sitting in other courtrooms as well. This whole thing is so disgraceful. It's un-American. None of this should be happening. He's going to have to pony up $500 million just in New York to keep appealing those cases.
Eighth Amendment. He could raise the Eighth Amendment, take it all the way up to the Supreme Court. I don't know if that's possible, but he could. Alec, on the other hand, look, you want to know the truth? I don't care if they had a romantic relationship or not, to be honest with you. It does bother some judicial types and lawyers. I'm not a lawyer. I don't care. I do care, though, that they lied. That's the part that I cared about, and that's why I think they should be disqualified. And what seems to be happening is all the additional evidence shows that they lied. Both of them lied on the stand last week or the week before. That bothers me.
They lied and they're in denial. That's all. They're going to deny. That's the game plan here. But this adds up to like 25, 30 text messages a day, 5, 6 phone calls per day. Come on, this is ridiculous. Fani Willis, she made her bed. Everybody's been sleeping in it. Who knows who else she's been texting? If she's texting this guy 12,000 times, there's probably a laundry list of other people. We know she keeps a pile of cash in her house somewhere. Now, obviously, she needs it to pay for this phone bill, because I remember back in the day, you needed to worry about the minutes. Call me after 9 o'clock. Nights and weekends were free, all right? She's got to have some monster plan here.
Again, I mean, he's very needy, this guy. Rich is right.
You would have time. Would you be able to do anything else?
But again, I don't care. If he wants to just text her all day, 24/7, that's fine. Just don't lie about it. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think the judge is a Democrat too, but I don't know. I think the noose is coming in. The other thing that's a bad story is Breitbart broke this afternoon. I think Breitbart's good reporters. This chap, Jeff Desantis, longtime Democratic.
No relation to the Florida governor.
No relation to the Florida governor. It's very important. It's D.I. Santis, not D.E. Santis. He's the deputy district attorney, but he has worked for presidents, governors, senators. He's a campaign warhorse. He's the White House person in her operation. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a link. I mean, again, I can't prove it, but we know there have been reports that the White House was coaching Fani Willis and Nathan Wade about this. Is this DeSantis thing? This could cement.
We need to learn more, but the way I think about it, let's just say the polling was the opposite the way it is now. And every single poll said if that Trump was convicted of a felony, he'd be more likely to beat Joe Biden in November. All these cases would go away. They all would go away. Yes. They're doing it knowing that this will hurt him. Even if it doesn't hurt him in the polls, it's draining resources, it's draining time. And that's why this is all happening.
All right, let us move on. Alec Lace, can Donald Trump win over independents and Nikki Haley voters in the general election? That seemed to be the hot topic over the weekend. Not that he clobbered her 60-40, but can he win over independents? All right, fine. They're all good questions. What do you think?
Are there really any Nikki Haley voters? I mean, I think most of these people are Democrats that are supporting Nikki Haley, so I don't think he's going to have a problem. This is Trump's party. This is Donald Trump's party going forward. He's going to win this nomination.
But in the general election.
Yeah.
How will he do with independents in the general election?
I think he's going to pick them up. I don't think there's any true Nikki believers out there. I think he has no problem scooping up the people out there. They're going to see. You got to remember something, Larry. Donald Trump didn't just win these primaries in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. He broke records in all 3 of them. This is a dominating performance by President Trump. So it's either get on the Trump train or get stuck with these Nikki Haley. I don't even know who these people are that are supporting her anymore, but I don't think he has a problem picking them up.
All right. I'm going to ask the same question to you. I want to add one thing. There's statistics out the turnout, the Republican turnout in South Carolina on Saturday was apparently significantly bigger than the Republican turnout in 2016 when you had a real horse race with Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio and so forth. Now, so there's an intensity thing going on here that I don't think pundits really have picked up correctly.
Yeah, so this is the big thing with Trump. The turnout, the intensity of his base, which no other Republican can match. If you're a Republican in the suburbs, you're kind of hurting now because kind of the high propensity voters tend to be Democrats now in suburbs and other places. But when Trump runs and is on the ballot, it's a different proposition. But he's going to need to win independents. A lot of polling, general election polling shows him winning independents. But that's one of the big differences. 16, he wins independents, wins the presidency. 2020, loses independents and loses.
Alec, we were talking earlier about an interesting article by my pal Larry Lindsay about how the Republican Party has changed. And the Republican Party is now made up of not the elites, not the well-to-do, farmers, truckers, entrepreneurs, mechanics, and construction workers. Now, my production team, we checked your boxes at least 5 times for these new categories. Farmers, truckers, entrepreneurs, mechanics, and construction workers. But the point is there's a realignment going on. You could add to that Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans. You could probably add to that younger people who don't get enough credit. There's realignment, and the Democrat, Republican, Independent check those boxes may not be telling us anything we need to know about the outcome of this general election.
Well, also, too, you just seen the Teamsters made a large donation to the RNC, which is historic. That hasn't happened in decades. Now, I've been working for the railroad as a mechanic for 24 years, Larry, and we're seeing it there. I'm seeing in all those boxes you just mentioned with the different backgrounds and races and creeds, they all exist in a big melting pot on the railroad. And the shift has been monumental this year towards we're going Trump this way. Because no matter what you're making and you're bringing home, it doesn't make a difference if you're getting a raise, if everything you're paying for is skyrocketing. So everyone sees what's happening right now and they want something changed. They're not better off now than they were 4 years ago, and that's what's going to bring them out to vote for Trump.
Is it true you were cited at McDonald's over the weekend and that your whole cash wad was blown?
McDonald's drive-through, 2 orders of large fries and a large shake, $17. I love McDonald's. I think it's one of the great institutions of American life. It's the first time ever in my life I've gone to McDonald's and felt ripped off. And it's because food is just, the price is higher and everyone feels it, right? And it means your paycheck is worth less than it used to be, and that's not something anyone's going to forget.
There you go. The affordability crisis. Hold that for your next column. It's a very interesting point. Rich Lowry and Alec Lace. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.